Hello flight simmers and welcome to From Startup to Shutdown channel. In this video I will cover the Qualitywings Avro Autopilot system. At this point of time the description I'm gonna give you is adapted to the way that Qualitywings has modeled the autopilot. So some items do not conform with the real world Avro Autopilot. Hopefully the Qualitywings software designer will do some updates to improve the realism level. Okay, let's get started. Starting from the overhead panel, we have two channel yaw dampers on-off switches. As you may know that the yaw damper provide the directional stability and assist with coordinate turns. The yaw damper will operate independently from the autopilot provided that the switches are on. If you see an amber YD or yaw damper light on the flight annunciator accompanied with the white YD1 and YD2 lights on the FGS advisory panel, this means that the yaw damper switches are deselected. Selecting these switches on will turn off these annunciator's YD lights. The Qualitywings Avro is modeled with two flight guidance computers, and the FGC selector is used to select either one as desired, and these selections has no effect until the Qualitywings provide a failures package option. For example, if the FGC number 1 was to fail while it's being used, we can back up the autopilot system by selecting the FGC number 2. The two autopilot master switches are turned on and off to power and depower respectively the circuits within the autopilot actuators, clutches and sensors system. And notice that in the avionics row that the switches can be selected only in pairs and there is no individual selection. And again, this is the way the Qualitywings has modeled this. Moving down to the glare shield where the mode control panel or MCP is located. Starting from the left, this is the course selector for the VOR and localizer. Now for all MCP selector knobs, use your mouse wheel for a large change and left and right mouse clicks for small changes. The flight director select switch is used to turn on and off the flight director. Selecting this on will cause the MA or master white light to illuminate to tell us that the captain navigational source system is now the primary source for the autopilot. Selecting this off will simply deselect the flight director. The auto throttle select switch has two positions, off and arm. In off position, the auto throttle is disabled. Selecting arm will arm the auto throttle for activation, accompanied with a green arm light. And selecting off will disarm the auto throttle system. The thrust button is used to activate the auto throttle. A first click will activate the thrust, confirmed by an amber on light inside the button. A second click will deactivate the thrust, confirmed by a removed on light. Now for all MCP mode select buttons, including the autopilot nav 1 and nav 2 buttons, they work in the same way as the thrust button. Amber on light illuminates when the button is selected and extinguishes when deselected. IS/MAC window shows the current selected speed. Changeover button is used to change the IS/MAC display, which cycles between IS and MAC. The speed knob is used to select a desired speed. Level change mode is used for a large altitude change. Selecting this mode for climbing will cause the auto throttle to set a constant climb thrust to the N1 limit pre-selected in the thrust rating panel. And the pitch will hold the current speed, and you can set the climb pre-selected speed in FMS CDU climb page. Selecting the level change for descending will cause the auto throttle to retard to idle and the pitch mode to hold the current speed, and again you can set the pre-selected descent speed in the FMS CDU descent page. When a complete flight plan is being programmed in the FMS CDU, LNAV and VNAV buttons can be selected to allow the autopilot to fly both lateral and vertical FMS paths. Heading select knob is used to set a desired heading when the heading mode is being selected. VOR-LOC mode button is used to allow the autopilot to fly a VOR or localizer course. Selecting the approach button on will arm both the localizer and the glide slope during the approach phase. And we set our target altitude using the altitude select knob. Moving down to the altitude hold button, selecting this on will hold the altitude existing at the time of selecting altitude hold mode. VS button can be selected to fly a desired vertical speed, which can be set using the thumb wheel. And we use the NAV1 button to engage the autopilot. NAV2 has no effect since the first officer side select course and the flight directors are disabled on the first officer flight instruments. This means that by default the Qualitywings Avro can be flown only from the captain side. And moving to the last item on the MCP panel, the disengage paddle, which is used for an emergency autopilot disconnection. Let's see now briefly how the autopilot system annunciations work. The flight modes are displayed on the upper portion of the PFD. The left side is for the auto throttle status, followed by the thrust rating mode. On the right upper corner, the annunciations are organized in 3 columns and 2 lines. Starting from the left, the first column is for the autopilot status, the second is for the active modes, and the third column is for the armed modes. The upper line or row is for the vertical modes, the lower line is for the lateral modes. The armed modes are displayed in white, the active modes are displayed in green. I will give you a complete flight scenario to see how the autopilot is used, but this will be covered in the next video. Thank you for watching.